curious. Oh, I'm curious about Firefly, the rest of it.
Firefly was very creative, had a lot of heart, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before.
Firefly was that thing all your friends told you to watch, and you finally agreed with them.
Firefly was very interesting, and I agree. It was one of those shows that I never watched, and I'm glad I started watching it now.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so you don't have to. If you want us to watch the first episode of a series, just say WTF Seinfeld or WTF Frasier or WTF He-Man in the comments below. That means watch the first He-Man. With us, filling in for Michael Kenyon Rosenberg as co-host, is Bridget Fitzgerald. Hello.
Woo! I'll do the best mic I can.
Best mic impression. We're looking forward to that. And we're also joined by comedian and actress, writer, producer, kind of, mostly actress, Jennifer Jurassic Jen Durst.
I love how you call me a comedian.
Well, you make me laugh.
I tried stand-up once, and it wasn't that great.
Bridget, how many times have you done stand-up?
A lot. I did it for like 2 years in New York, and then I switched to mainly improv. So I've bombed so many times.
No
it's
wonder
the
you're
weirdest feeling in the world.
The weirdest.
But your videos are hilarious. So.
Well, thank you. Thank
Definitely.
you. Yeah.
So today we are doing a review of, this is it, we finally gave in. We were all told to watch this show, as you guys mentioned, Firefly. And we watched the first episode, which after much deliberation turns out is Serenity.
Yeah. What?
Don't even
They
know.
released it after the show came out? What is that thought here? I don't know. I guess we kind of mentioned this a little bit, where it was like, how did you just assume all the relationships that are going on without seeing this episode? I don't know, but I don't know. Guess there's a lot of inference going on, a lot of people making assumptions. That's cool, but I prefer a good setup.
You know,
Yeah.
Before we get into the meat of the show, let's just knock that out real quick. Okay, so the 11th episode that was really the pilot was called Serenity, but then it was like, was the pilot Serenity, was the 11th episode? Then it turns out they made a movie a few years later also called Serenity. The ship was called Serenity. I was waiting for them to have all of the characters named Serenity, like all the planets. We're going to planet Serenity. Go, you and Serenity, go to the Serenity room because we need more serenity in our Serenity. But
Serenity now!
And this episode is like longer than all the other ones too, so it almost is like a movie. It's like an hour and a half.
Totally.
Yeah.
So,
but shorter than like a 2-hour Bachelor premiere. So, I mean, it does have that going for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Watch the first Bachelor? I'm just saying.
So now that we got that out of the way, because that was a little frustrating, just a little bit, and I'm sure that, you know, all the nerds for the last 15 years already went over this, and what we're saying, they're like, dude, it's 2020, man. Fast forward. They're like, we know, dude, we know. So anyway, yeah, this episode was called Serenity, like everything else. All the episodes are called Serenity, apparently. So this is how we like to start off the show. What did you expect and what did you get? Now, Bridget, before you watched the show, the first time, before you ever saw it,
Okay.
what did you expect?
I expected nerd-worthy level technology and something with really like witty characters that talk to each other. That's what I was expecting because I like Joss Whedon, and I think that all of his other work has a lot of different characters, and he manages that well. And then they're very quick, quippy things back and forth. So that's what I was expecting. I was expecting Buffy in space.
Oh, good. Now, Jen, before you ever watched 1 second of this show, what did you expect?
I kind of went in with no expectations. I didn't read what it was about. I just kind of went in. I guess I expected actual fireflies everywhere, but I didn't get that. No, I'm kidding. But I the only thing I knew about it was that it was in the future. So I expected kind of like what Bridget said, kind of like gadgets and all that stuff. And that's all I went in expecting. I didn't expect anything about the characters or what it was about or anything like that. And I did it on purpose because I wanted to see what I could get out of it when I watched it.
Is this in the future? Or is it just like a galaxy far, far away kind of situation?
I thought it was the future. I'm not sure.
It's obviously the future. I mean, do you have a spaceship? I don't have a spaceship. Ryan Husk, you're holding out on us.
Star Wars has spaceships, and they're from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I think I read, because after the fact I went up to look up like characters and stuff, because there's one actress in there that I still can't find where I know her from, but so I looked it up and I thought, I could be wrong, I read that it's like 500 years in the future or something like that.
Okay,
but
so now we know.
Search it again and look after.
And it also jumped 6 years in the course of the episode itself.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
So it's in the future of itself, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what I expected. Because I want to be honest, confession, I tried to watch it many years ago and I got through maybe 5 minutes and I was like, I can't, I'm so disinterested. It's boring. I don't know. Like I didn't watch it. But anyway, so what I expected was for something to be not very good, kind of boring, but also have some elements that I would like because, oh, by the way, did we forget to mention, this episode is for Paul Hickman. It's a Paul Hickman special, the Firefly. This is episode 33. The Paul Hickman episode. We're wearing, 1/3 of us are wearing our Assassin's Apprentice shirts. Paul Hickman is executive producer and writer of a franchise called The Assassin's Apprentice. He loves Firefly. This is, I believe it takes place in the year 1901. Anyway, moving on. Hopefully Paul watched past the first 7 minutes to see this part. Anyway, so people like Paul did say that it was really, really good, and a lot of sci-fi geeks really love it. So I expected that there would be some elements I liked. Now, here's the big question though, guys. That's what we expected. Bridget P. Fitzgerald. I don't know if your middle name's a P. I think it might be an
It's a B. It's B again. It's BB.
B again.
B. My sister calls me BB. So there we go. Yeah.
BB Newworth.
Yeah. I wish I could sing and tap dance like that woman. That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. So BB, that's what we expected. What did you get?
I got an animated version of Ants with all fireflies, just like Jen expected. No, I got, honestly, it delivered. It delivered on what I expected. Quipapalooza. I got Quipapalooza with Nathan Fillion. So that was great. I also got a lot of new technology and also some sort of like throwback. You know how like in Star Wars, it's kind of like a used car future is the feeling that you get at the Millennium Falcon. I got kind of those same vibes when he's, you know, using the bathroom and then flips it up and it's a sink, that sort of thing. So that was kind of cool for me because I was like, oh, that's great. It makes it feel more realistic to me. It makes it feel more like not everything is so uber precious. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
You know, I definitely put that in my notes about the toilet. Like, it may sound stupid, but we do notice these kinds of things, right, Bridget? We're like, oh, that's kind of a clever little thing. They just kind of dump the stuff out by turning it up. I was like, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Jen, what did you get?
Well, I didn't get my Firefly. You said that. I was like, wait, what did I miss? Well, when I was thinking of future and like sci-fi, when I think future, I think like Jetsons kind of thing. Because like you said, Star Wars is like way far away, like in the past or whatever. So I was thinking like, oh, if it's 500 years in the future, it's going to be like super like Jetson-y kind of thing. But instead, I kind of got that like Star Wars vibe without the aliens. It was just that kind of like, I don't know, it almost seems like a poorer, like, I don't want the future to be like that. It's like post-apocalyptic kind of thing. Like, I feel like everyone's kind of like dirty and like living their own like little life and like they're thieves and they have to survive and all that. So I kind of got that. So like if you think, when I think future, I don't think that way. And I got that like Star Wars, like Mandalorian vibes without the aliens and all the cool species and stuff. So
Totally. More on that in just a second. But I'll tell you what I got from it. I got a mixed bag. The beginning was still boring and extremely dark. I'm like, I turned up the light. I made it as bright as I could, and I could barely see that first scene. And I was like, if the whole show is gonna be like this, I'm just gonna die. But no, it wasn't. It was just that first scene. And it kind of made me think that's probably why I turned it off before, because it's boring, it's dark, I didn't really get what was going on. But it did get better. I feel like this was something that could have been done in, 45 to 65 minutes rather than 90. I think they could have largely cut out chunks out of the first half, but somewhere in the middle, it started to get good. And it did feel like, or it could have been 2 episodes, because I felt like at some point, like when they revealed the girl kind of being cryogenically frozen, I felt like that could have been the end of the first episode right there. And I looked, and it was right around 45 minutes. I remember going, oh my God, I'm only halfway through this thing. But anyway, so what I got was a mixed bag that got better and better as it went along. And I ended up liking it. I definitely liked it. And more on that in just a second. We'll talk about what we did like, but back to what Jen said, which was kind of a question that I had, which was, what is Firefly like? What genre is it? I've heard people call it like a space Western.
Oh.
But I myself also very much likened it to Star Wars or Mad Max. I don't know. What do you think, Bridget? What if somebody said, what's Firefly like? Without talking about the plot, just what kind of genre, what kind of feel, what's it like?
Well, I think that is more like hitting the nail on the head to say a space Western, because everything, including the music, which was written by Joss Whedon, it gives that Western vibe to it. And also they have all the classic tropes of a Western. In this episode especially, they have like riding horses, they have shootouts, they have exchanges going on. Like they're basically surviving as like cattle rustlers.
Right. And the outfit's right behind you too. The outfit they're wearing.
I mean, look, the belt for your gun holster or whatever, that's the whole Western vibe meets space, which I'm very into. I think that's fun.
What about you, Jen?
Yeah, the Western, I think when I think Western, that makes sense that you said that, because that's exactly what I thought with the shootout and the way they were even shooting their guns. I was like, this is a Western, they're shooting them off the horses and all that stuff. But then they also had like a machine there, so it was like a real mixture of things. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. Like the beginning of the episode, well, I don't know, we could maybe talk about that later, but it feels like if you saw a post-apocalyptic Western. Like that's what it feels like.
Right.
I think
that's why I gave it a Mad Max feel. Yeah.
I totally apocalyptic, like for sure. Like that's the first thing I felt. That's why I was like, oh, it's like dirty and survival. It's not super futuristic in my eyes of like what it would be. So
yeah, you're going to a better future. Don't worry about it, Jen.
I'm going to a better future, like Essence. Not this one where my meal come down for me. I don't have to go fight for it.
Perfect. We got an Elroy, Rosie waiting on standby.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Yeah, it was kind of like, that's really what it was to me, because I was trying to really like wrap my head around it. I said, okay, yeah, it's a sci-fi Western, and it's basically the only show that I really know that's like that. I remember there was one with Will Smith like 10 years ago or something as well. There have been a couple, or they're like steampunk kind of. That was a little more like steampunk. This is kind of like a sci-fi Western, but I very much got a Mad Max / Star Wars feel. Star Wars without the aliens, like Jen said, that's exactly kind of what I was thinking too. But it's kind of like a big amalgamation of all of those things, which is what made it so creative, because it makes you think there's so many different elements and genres kind of crunched together. Does it work? Is there just too much? Is he like, okay, now they're at the dinosaur planet And then, you know, and now that's it's an action and there's romance and here's the comedy episode and, you know, and now they're going to go visit the alien, you know, planet. Like, were there too many elements, too many genres crammed together? Or do you guys think it worked?
I think, I mean, it was an hour and a half. So I think, like you said, with 2 different episodes, it might have been better. But I think it worked. Like, I didn't even think of it that way. But something that did stick out when you brought up dinosaurs is I did notice him playing with the 2 dinosaurs.
Yeah, I thought of you.
Favorite part, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jurassic Jen, by the way. Find her on Instagram, Jurassic Jen. So when he was playing with the dinosaurs, which was cute, we definitely thought of you, Jen. Yes, was like, okay, that's Jen's moment right there.
And you were right. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. Yeah, there we go.
This is for you. This is for you.
I love it.
Perfect. Right on
Making
cue.
you feel at home. Making you feel at home.
Now I feel so.
I do want to make a quick shout out to Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, by the way, because he's usually the one that pops up these super quick things like Bridget Fitzgerald, who's super quick and clever, did. She's filling in for Michael Rosenberg. He was in a little car accident. Everybody wish him well. He's doing just fine. He's recuperating beautifully. But Bridget was like, I'll handle this one. And Mike was like, why are you pushing me? I just got into an accident.
Out of my way. I gotta be you, man.
Great. Look, she has the background.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Great job. That was perfect.
Michael.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jen? Did it work?
What?
All the
well, that's what I said.
Sorry.
I think would have, now that we're talking about that, it didn't like hit me about what you said until now when I'm thinking about it. I do think if it was in 2 different episodes, it would have worked a little bit better.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a huge problem for me. So I wouldn't say like it was like, so I guess it did work then.
Yeah, it
for
sounds
me,
like
it didn't like hit me anyway of like what was going on. But there was certain moments, kind of like you said, like in the beginning, where I was just kind of like, I hope something more interesting happens. Then the dinosaurs came out and I was like, yeah.
I hope something interesting happens. And then a guy brings out 2 toy dinosaurs and Jen was like, thank you, baby Jesus.
But then it started to like a little bit drag off again, but then like other stuff would happen and I'd be like, okay, so it did. So yeah, I guess it did work for me because I didn't really notice a bunch of stuff all coming together in one. And I pretty much enjoyed it.
And Bridget, did you notice all the different genres? Did you think it worked? Did you think it was a little too much, or you're not sure yet?
Honestly, I am very forgiving within the sci-fi genre itself. And I think that there's lots of ways to explore that, that genre. And I think this is a cool like twist to it, you know, one that we haven't seen before. So it did work for me because both of those to me are adventure-based genres, and I think that they fuse together pretty well.
Right. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it because I do feel like, look, if you have spaceships and stuff, and you know somebody presumably in the future with all this technology and stuff, and somebody's running an entire planet, I feel like she would have more at her disposal than some horses. I feel like she would have a speeder or an ATV at least. Or you know, like a car. I don't know. Like I just feel like, I mean, clearly there's like scarcity going on. You know, like Star Wars or like Mad Max, like we said, are post-apocalyptic. But I just felt like, you know, even you could just break off little parts of your spaceship and make a little Land Rover for the.
But she doesn't
queen of the
necessarily
planet.
have those things. I mean, she's trading for food. Like she's trading for bricks of food. Like that's not high tech. That's like rations for soldiers is what she's trading for. So maybe she just doesn't have the resources. Again, post-apocalyptic world. Maybe they wish they had those things and they know of those things, but that doesn't mean they have them.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's exactly right. I'm sure that's exactly what the writing in the Bible intends. You know, again, it was kind of I think it works, but I feel like I would have to watch the rest of the series, the whole 13 episodes, to really see how well it does work. It's just different. And that's why I was really impressed with the creativity, because it is a bold choice. It is an interesting choice. It is creative, and it does kind of change our perception of what we think sci-fi should be or whatever. And I really like that a lot, actually. I really like the world building. But before we get into that, I'm going to do my best impression of what I should have said in the first 5 minutes and say, hey, Bridget, Can you give us the premise of this show?
Well, hey, yes, I can. This episode is called Serenity, and according to IMDb, Malcolm Reynolds is a veteran and the captain of Serenity. He and his crew are smuggling goods, but they need to pick up some passengers for extra money. However, not all the passengers are what they seem. There, end of it.
Oh, this was great.
No,
I wanted to have like a snack. So let's really get into the meat of this thing. Because it was a lot. It was 90 minutes. There's a ton to talk about, and I'm sure we could talk about it forever, but let's not talk about it forever. Did you guys have a favorite character that jumped out? Oh, Jen nodded so fast.
Woo!
Jen, who was your favorite character, and why, and where, and when?
Remember how I said that like the dinosaurs came out and I was interested, and then they weren't in. Then I was like lagging. My favorite character that brought me back, because I felt like she was so like, I don't know, interesting to me, was Anara, the whore, the companion. I don't know. I really enjoyed her. Like the first scene with her, I was like into it, and like I just wanted to know more about her. And then when they introduced her as the whore, I didn't even like put that together. I was like, is she with this guy because she likes him, or is she a whore? I didn't know. So then he like cleared it up that she was that. And I just found like, I find like every scene that she's in, I'm like looking like, I don't know, she's just an interesting character to me. I really like it.
Right. I remember when I always get in like this slight panic, because I watched this thing, and my first thought was the way that they were acting. I was like, wait, I put in my notes too. I was like, is she a prostitute? I don't get it. Is she? But I was like afraid. I'm like, if we're like recording this show and I say, so is that lady a prostitute or whatever, people are going to get so, this fucking pig, she's not a prostitute, she's an ambassador. But then luckily, like a couple minutes later, I got taken off the hook. They're like, yes, Ryan, you picked up on it. She's a prostitute. Okay.
That's exactly how I was like in between. I was like, is she like seeing this guy? Does she go off and see him, or is it just like a one-time like booty call? But then I'm like, is she a prostitute? And then he just blatantly said, oh, this is a whore. Like,
and I thought it was brilliant that they called her an ambassador too, because like the possibilities are endless there. She's not just a prostitute. She's an ambassador. She's a talker. She understands people. She's like a psychologist with the old dude. Sorry, what were you going to say, Bridget?
I was just saying that there were clues, guys. There were tons of clues that like gave this away. Like first off, she's in bed with the dude the first time we see her. She has that these are the times of our lives, that sand hourglass thing that's going on. Yeah, but these are the days of our lives. Like it's clearly she is on the clock. And then they even say something
on the what?
About on the clock.
Oh, clock.
Clock. Yeah, mind out of the gutter. Mind into space, man. But like, yeah, so clearly she's a lady of the night. There's visual cues going on.
What a heart of gold.
Exactly.
Bridget, did you have any favorite character or characters?
Favorite character or characters? I mean, honestly, I'm on the Nathan Fillion train. I think that he was my favorite because he had all the quips of the episode that I really liked. Although my favorite line did come from someone else, and it was from Jen's favorite part. But overall, I like all the quippy like one-liners that he just spits. He spits the truth. This captain's the captain for a reason, so I enjoyed that.
He's good.
I guess I got to think about who my favorite character was. I should have prepared that. You guys answered immediately, and I'm not even ready for my own question. But
do you want to hear my favorite line?
Not yet, because I'm ready to. But I do want to know, because when you said that, I started trying to predict what it was. So I do want to know, because I was looking at my notes. I was like,
I have a favorite line that, what's his name? The shepherd guy, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't write it down, and now I forgot it. But he had this line when he's with Anara, and he says something to her, and I was like, oh my God, that was so profound. And then stupid me didn't write it down. But
last.
Maybe it's your line. Maybe.
I don't think so. I think I can predict that line. But I'll tell you, I think I've got two favorites right now so far. Although it's tough because it kind of feels like they're like 4 characters that I like and 4 characters I don't care about, or 5 that I don't care about, or 6 or 7 or whatever. But I really liked, surprisingly, Jane, the thug, because he had, this is what I noticed, that this Joss Whedon guy, apparently, I've never watched Buffy, so I don't care. But apparently this Joss Whedon guy, from watching this first episode, he is really good at creating good characters, because I found that most of the characters had immediate and endearing depth and heart. And I thought that Jane did more than possibly any of them, because he has the clearest version of, I'm a dick, I'm a bigot, I'm a misogynist, but he's looking in when they're healing that one lady, when they're taking the bullet out, and there's just that one subtle scene that shows him hunched over and peeking in, which tells us what? It tells us that he actually really cares about that lady that he was talking jive about earlier and making fun of her for being a lesbian. Well, now we know why. It's because he's secretly in love with her, probably, is my guess, right? The other character that I really liked was actually that character that got shot in the stomach, because she seems to be that character that's important in a show that's kind of like the bright spot in the dark world. Like they're all dark, they're all rough around the edges. And she's just like, hey, let's just all be happy. Let's love each other. She goes to the ship. She's like, good girl, sure. Good, that's my girl. That's my girl. Good girl. To her, like it's her little kitty. And that's a really cool character. But there were a couple others that I really liked as well. Like I did think the prostitute lady Inara had great depth. I thought it was acted really well. And I think those were the 3 major standouts for me. Anyway, did you guys have a character that didn't quite do it for you?
I mean, the guy who ended up dead.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm glad you're gone. You've been annoying this whole time. I'm terrible. Do not bring me to a wake if I did not like that person.
You're like, I'm glad that you're
Congratulations. Get out.
I guess I have to agree with that. But that girl Kaylee, the one that got shot, I can't figure out. I even looked up her IMDb, where she's from. I've seen her in other things, and I felt like she plays that same character. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I've seen her before, and I looked on IMDb, and I'm like, did I see her in a Christmas movie or something? But I couldn't take her out of that bubbly thing that I've seen her before. So I just felt like that's the same character I saw somewhere else. But I did agree with that. She was great in that, bringing the joy to it. But I guess I agree with Bridget. That is the guy that got killed. There was
that's
just
an easy answer.
Hit the road.
Sometimes you feel
Give me
bad
a gun.
for that guy, but sometimes you don't feel bad for that. Sometimes I feel bad for the bad guy sometimes. But this time I did. Whatever.
I'm going to say something that's going to make a lot of people upset, I think.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
I was almost least interested in Nathan Fillion's character.
I was going to say that you're going to say that.
I mean,
Why?
Well, I expected to like him. I was like, I believe he's the lead character. I know he's a cult icon. I know everybody loves him. The character was different than I expected. I thought that he seemed, the actor himself, when I watched the show, I was thinking he seems like he's more of a comedic, douchey, nice guy type, like a Joey on Friends or something. I was picturing a little bit more like that, or him on Dr. Horrible's blog thing, the Neil Patrick Harris thing. He was like that, Dr. Hammer or something like that. But he was like this tough guy, and he just was not a convincing tough guy to me. He's just, his face, his demeanor does not strike me as tough, conflicted. I'm so brooding. And I was like, come on, when's he gonna snap out of this? Be like, just kidding, guys. Let's go home, everybody. And so that kind of, didn't do much for me. The lady that was second in charge, they didn't really give us much of her either. The brother and sister there wasn't a lot for them there. I feel like there was a line where there was just here are 3 or 4, really well thought out and developed characters, even if they don't have a lot of lines. And then here are 3 or 4 people that have a lot of lines, but they have less depth, at least in the first episode for me.
So like you're saying the same thing, like Jane, that's his name, right? That like tough guy. He's like tough, but he has like depth to him, and you kind of want to know more about him. But then what's his name? Mal?
Yeah.
Like he's tough, but there's nothing like inside. Like you can't see where he's coming from. So there's like no depth.
No, I mean, he did have depth. I mean, they all did, and clearly Joss Whedon is very good at writing good characters. That much was obvious to me from watching this. But I feel like maybe I just didn't think that Nathan Fillion fits that character in my own mind. I'm not saying he doesn't act well. I'm just saying in my own mind, I was like, I would expect that face or that type to act differently than he did. So maybe it's more of a casting thing. I don't know. I mean, he was fine. He was great.
So funny. Like in your version of it, he's like, "Who wants ice cream? Let's go."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know that anybody would stick around for a show that's just
like the fun
guy. Yeah, the fun cast.
He did play that joke. He played that joke, and
that was very funny. You're right.
So funny.
They're all like, "You're
hilarious. Like, you're crazy." That's like a bunch of mean girls all around something being like, "You're crazy."
I like that.
Crazy.
That was a
like, no, it's not.
I was like, wait, what did I just watch? Like they're laughing and they're calling him a psycho because he told them that she died, and he's down there and he's like, he's a psychopath. But
yeah, that was great. He's like, my name's Mal, but you can call me Pal.
That was the fun captain that you wanted from the beginning, making jokes.
You're right. And I'm hoping that by episode 14, because there's only 14 episodes or whatever, I'm hoping that by then he turns into that guy where he's like, "Hey, buddy, everything's going to be okay, Jane. We're buddies now." And Jane's like, "Yeah, I like you too, you scrapper."
Nice.
I am going to continue watching though. Like I didn't know if I would want
Jen,
to.
we'll cover that at the very end.
Oh, okay.
Note to Mike, edit that out. Just kidding, he's not going to. He's not going to. He's like, you guys are on your own. No, we don't edit. But yeah, we will definitely cover that afterwards, because that's really the most important question of the day. You're right. Did you guys have a favorite moment in the show? Was there something that really stood out to you that you really liked?
Yes. I'm going to go and just tell you my favorite line, which again was from Jen's favorite scene that had something to do with dinosaurs. It was when Alan Tudyk is he's playing with the dinosaurs, and he's like, "Oh, curse your son, but inevitable betrayal." That was my favorite part of the episode.
That was exactly the line that I thought, because you're right. That was brilliant. Yeah, inevitable.
Inevitable. The inevitable twist is like that. Yeah. That's a chef kiss. What a great line. So
I definitely wrote that in my notes too. I can't find it because I took a million notes, including them riding out on a dune buggy. It's like, what? Somebody rode out on a dune buggy at some point.
Other things that stood out to me. Do you want me to just talk about those?
Please.
Felt like Terminator, except without the Sarah Connor voiceover. You know what I mean? Like at the very beginning of that movie where they're seeing the people destroying each other, I was like, whoa. And it also like kind of set up the guy you didn't like, Nathan Fillion, as like the hero of it.
I didn't dislike him. I just was slightly less impressed and interested in that character.
I could see why, like, I don't know if you know the show Big Mouth on Netflix. Like,
I love that
show. Missy loves Nathan Fillion. Like, one of the characters, her big nerd crush is Nathan Fillion. And I was like, I'm feeling Missy. I agree. Like, he's a great guy. Yeah. I'll get a poster. Sure.
He's very popular amongst the ladies.
Yeah.
You're a lady, Jen. Is he popular amongst you?
My lady. Oh my goodness. What?
I guess that's yes. Do you like him too? I think he's super cute. I'm like,
he looks a lot younger than, because I feel like I know him like now, But he's like handsome. But I never really watched, like he's in Castle, right? Is that what it is? He's Castle.
Yeah.
That's like, so like I feel like he's popular for that, but I've never seen that show. So I've seen him like do like maybe interviews or stuff like that. So I know like the older version. But like in this, like there was a lot of eye candy in this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who else were the eye candy folks?
I also I thought Jane was very attractive too.
Okay, but Jen, here's the game. For every cute guy, you have to liken them to a candy. Like Jane was like a gummy worm or something. Go ahead.
But how do you know how I like candy? Like, what if I hate Reese's peanut butter cup? Which I don't.
There's no wrong answers. Whatever you want. So who were the eye candies?
The eye candies. Well, Mal, he was an eye candy. He was like a lollipop.
I love it.
James like a Butterfinger.
Why?
Wait, sorry. Can I get on? Go for it. But then
save us, please.
Question. Is that Adam Baldwin? Is that the guy that you're talking about? The big guy, the big strong buff guy? I had to look him up after because I was like, is he a Baldwin brother? Is he like a Baldwin? And then the answer is no. He's the only Baldwin I know who is not also a Baldwin.
He doesn't really look like them either, but you never know. He's like the youngest one that doesn't look.
I don't know all the Baldwins. There's 5 of them. That's like a lot to handle, you know? Can't keep them all straight. Is he Steven? I don't know.
There's too many of them. And then I think that the doctor guy is kind of attractive too, but he's like the least favorite candy of the candy.
So what would you say? He's like an
Smarties.
Altoid?
The Smarties. You'll take it, but you don't really want
Smarties.
And I do love black licorice, so if I can't even compare him to that. Maybe
I
like
black licorice too. Good
I
call.
love black licorice.
We always
I've got some imported from France, some little black licorice goodies from France from my family.
I'm
jealous.
The black jelly. So maybe he's like the jelly beans because I like some of them and I take them out. So he's like jelly.
All right. Interesting. Did you guys think any of the ladies were eye candy?
I think they were all really attractive.
Yeah, I mean, they're on TV for a reason. Yeah. You know, you'll be hard pressed to find ugly people on TV. That's very difficult. Like, try finding a TV star who's flat out ugly. You can't.
What about Nathan Fillion? Just kidding. Everybody, just kidding. Nobody. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Read those
if
comments.
Michael were here.
I know. He would agree. With everybody else. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. I didn't think he was horrible. I'm just saying like that there were 3 or 4 that stood out, and I thought the main character was not one of the ones that stood out to me. He was good, he was fine, but the others, there are 3 or 4 of them that really I thought were well written.
And of course, you put a lot more expectation into the main character always, so you have to deliver that. So of course. But yeah.
Oh, we also saw Mark A. Shepard, by the way. Quick shout out to him. He's in a lot of cool sci-fi stuff like Battlestar Galactica, all kinds of other great things. Mark Shepard.
Yeah.
Hopefully he comes back.
I had flashbacks. I was like, where do I know him from? Like the same reason that you did with the girl. I was like, why do I know you? This is going to drive me nuts, but this is moving too fast. Got to pay attention. Look it up later.
Yeah, I had to take myself out of it because I was distracting myself with every single time that girl Kaylee spoke. I was like, where do I know her from? And I can't. And I'm like, I just don't. And then I looked her up on IMDb. And
yeah.
Now, speaking of Kaylee, again, I keep forgetting to mention this, but another shout out to Mr. Paul Hickman. When I found out what her name was, I was like, oh, Kaylee. That's the main character. That's the name of the main character of The Assassin's Apprentice, by the way.
I thought about that too, actually. I was like, wait, did he get it from...
So maybe that's where you saw her from. It's like a name recognition.
No, it's like her expressions, everything. I was like, she's in something. I had to take myself back to the show because I kept it was driving me crazy. Then I went on IMDb. I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff she's in. Maybe like a Christmas movie or something. I don't know. But...
You could be Christmas movies.
I love movies. So I probably definitely saw her in a Christmas movie.
Now, can we talk about really quickly about what I thought was, I mean, I hate to put it this way, because this is very un-Ryan-like. You know, I'm a nerd. I like Star Trek and basketball. Okay, that's me in a nutshell, and football. But and kitties. But what I liked most, what I thought maybe was the best thing, was the romantic tension and conflict and possibilities. Like, I thought that was kind of the most interesting part of this episode to me, and none of it felt forced, which is unusual. Usually you're like, okay, that was forced, but they got to cram it into the first episode. It all worked for me, and to me that was almost like the most interesting thing to look forward to, was to see how these things develop. Because I mean, let's figure this out. We've got Kaylee, who's a lesbian, who's basically in love with Inara, right? And Inara, or she at least likes her. That's the impression I got. And Inara is a prostitute that doesn't really like anybody. She just likes all these guys. But then at the end, it turns out that Inara and the captain Mao kind of have a thing too, right? But so she doesn't really, it doesn't seem like maybe she has romantic feelings for Kaylee, although they do seem to share a special bond. So maybe something like that will happen, or maybe it has happened. Maybe they did, maybe she's bisexual. Maybe she's like, hey, you know, I don't just, you know, do things with dudes. I do things with whomever, you know, whether that's her sexual preference or her job, or that she doesn't give a shit. And then meanwhile, you have the brute, what's his name, Jane, who seems to be, theoretically, just from what I saw, it seems like he at least has a thing for Kaylee, and at most is completely in love with her. You know, I don't know, but it's somewhere in between there. Then at the very end, Alan Tudyk, the pilot, and the second in command lady, I don't remember her name, Zoe, they apparently not just have a thing, but it's a very clear, she's like, I want this guy to tear my clothes off.
Well, they're married. Did you know that at the beginning of the episode?
I missed it.
They're husband and wife.
Mm-hmm. So everybody is involved in some way with something. And I feel like, you know, 2 out of 3 of the new characters have potential for more romance. That's the siblings, not to each other, theoretically. But, you know, that you have 2 young, virile, good-looking people on the ship, you know, it's ripe for a possibility for more romance. There was a lot there, and it all worked for me. I don't know. What did you guys think of that element?
I feel like I missed the Kaylee might be a lesbian part. I thought that they were just like sisterly, like she hugs her or whatever when she gets on the ship. But then I thought that's why Jane made fun of her, was because she showed some interest in the doctor.
I think.
I guess that was confusing. But also, as long as we're talking about like romance and things like that, I'm going to take it back to that companion thing again. Because the guy is like, is that where you train to be a companion? I'm like, who trains to be a hooker? Like, I was very confused by that. I'm like, is this like a geisha of the future? I'm like, what is going on? Also, I thought like, you know, since this is to me in the future, it meant that like, I don't know, hooking might be the world's oldest and newest profession. I was like, why is this like this crazy thing that still is happening in the future? I don't know. I was just like, girl, you can drive a ship. What are you doing? Like,
that was impressive. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
The norm there. So it's like driving a car.
Well, now, Bridget, you've got me second guessing. I mean, I definitely picked up on romance between, you know, that Kaylee felt for Inara, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe I just thought that element was added there, and it really wasn't. And then when the guy made fun of her, you're right, maybe he was just being a dick, but not based on anything. I don't know.
When you were saying lesbian, like you said it a few times, I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah,
like,
I was like, was I out? Like, who is a lesbian on this ship? Like,
I guess I missed that part. Had something just for like a few seconds or whatever. I thought she had something with Nathan Fillion's character in the beginning.
Yeah.
because she like kissed him and it looked like it was like, oh, like this is my man. And then as it went on, I was like, okay, she's not with him, and then I felt that with Inara and him at the end.
Right.
That's
when he had the touch on the shoulder.
Yeah,
There was
I was like, what's going on there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're gonna hear about
so he's so like mean to her in that scene, like not mean, but like the way he calls her the whore and he's saying all this stuff, and it just seems like he treats her bad, that I feel like there's this tension that maybe he doesn't like her sleeping with other guys because he's attracted to her too.
He's totally negging her. He's just read that book. He's learning how to be a player. That's all that is.
That's it. Hopefully she's reading Why Men Love Bitches then.
I hope so. Man, oh man. All these things Michael would have said too.
Yes, you're doing the perfect Michael. He's going to be impressed.
100%. Michael.
You know that I Googled, oh, sorry, what were we going to say to Michael?
No.
You saying you're coming for his job?
I'm doing the best you I can do.
I think he's very happy and pleased with your job so far. You're killing it, of course.
Victory.
But we knew that. We know you're awesome. So, you know what I was doing just now was the first thing I did was I was like, you know what? I don't know anything. Let me just Google, is Kaylee a lesbian? So that's what I Googled. Because I'm like, the nerds would know. And this is what I'm seeing is Friday, Kaylee, Inara. You know, it seems like there's a lot of discussions about it. But then the third one says Firefly, mixed messages on Inara's sexuality. Okay, and then message Kaylee and says the top 11 lesbian bi moments in sci-fi and fantasy, and Firefly is named as one of them, with Kaylee and
I had no idea.
Inara, Sarah. So is Inara gay is another question. So it seems like it's not 100% settled because it was such a short-lived series that it probably has the answer in the Bible of the series, but they never had a chance to cover every single thing.
Maybe the movie could cover it.
Mm-hmm.
Movie.
Yeah. But I think that's cool. I think it's good to leave that open-ended, honestly. I feel like it's okay to say, hey, maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Maybe in the future, they're not really that rigid about things. Maybe they're like, I don't know, whatever. I just hump whatever I want. You know, I'm what is that, pansexual, right? They're like, whatever. Why you judging me, man? Let me just be happy.
That could be it. I mean, if it's in the future.
Not today.
I wish it was like that today where no one can.
Why do you wish that, Jen?
Not for me.
It's okay. We don't care. It's okay.
I just wish that there was just no difference in anything. But yes. Maybe in the future, 500 years from now, that's how it'll be.
Something to strive for.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess what we're trying to say here, Jen, is let's talk about you for a little while, shall we?
Oh, my favorite thing in the world.
Jennifer Durst, actress.
Kidding.
How are you, by the way, Jen?
I'm good.
It's been fun so far. We've enjoyed talking with you. Can you tell us where you were born and raised?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, specifically Sunset Park.
Wow.
Brooklyn. Mm-hmm.
You were born in a park.
In the park. No, I was born in Lutheran Medical Center in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, New York. But I did live right down the street from actual Sunset Park. So close, Ryan, close.
You're from New York? There's no hints about that in the way you speak.
I mean, when I first moved here, my accent was ridiculous. But my name was Jennifer.
Jennifer.
I love it.
And so why did you move to LA? Yeah, your accent is not noticeable at all. Now you've wiped the slate clean. What brought you to LA, by the way?
Acting. An actress. I just wasn't doing it. I wanted to be it for so long and I wasn't focused in New York because like I grew up there. So like my friends and family all had their own little dream jobs. Like I want to be a teacher. I want to work this. I want to do that. So I never like compared in that sense to them. I didn't feel like they understood me, like because it was such a big dream. Mm-hmm. And one day I just moved out here. I drove out here.
Wow.
Yeah, I just drove in my car. I actually had to put stuff in. in my car. I didn't drive. You always pick up on those little things that I said.
No, I just thought it was a coincidence because I also drive in my car.
Oh, so cool. It's really
That's another
cool.
thing we have in common.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't fit all my stuff in there, so I had to put everything in garbage bags, which was funny because I had to put like all my clothes so they could squeeze in the trunk. And then 2 of my New York friends drove down with me and then like flew back. So it was pretty fun. I do not recommend driving the 3,000 miles in 2.5 days because it was very exhausting. I fell asleep behind the wheel.
2.5 days?
I'm glad you're here with us. Fell asleep behind the wheel. Yeesh.
Made it. We were switching off, like 3 of us, but it was just not good sleep. So like, he was so tired. Well, we had to make it back because my birthday, it was right before my birthday. And we drove into San Diego where I lived in San Diego for a month with one of my old best friends, who's still one of my good best friends. But so we had to make it back in like a time because they had their flight out like that Sunday after my birthday. So it was just all this stuff. And we were just like driving.
Got it. For those of you at home, it all makes sense now. Jen takes her birthday extremely seriously. Those of you at home that are like, so wait, you did all this because your birthday was coming? Yeah, she definitely will move worlds to work.
For my birthday. I just ate before the quarantine too, this birthday, February. Good. I made it right before you had to have quarantine birthday parties. See?
Good job.
So you moved to LA to be an actress. And it was love at first sight, or you probably started acting back in Brooklyn, right? Do you have any particular kinds of roles that you excelled in or that you preferred or that you haven't been able to do but you'd like to do?
It's funny because everybody, like even you said comedian, because everybody's like, oh, you're so funny. I feel like I'm funny when I'm like talking to you, but like it's actually a harder role for me to do like when it's like scripted or like on set. I feel like it's a little, I mean, I'm getting better at it, but I feel like my main thing is like dramatic. And I feel like the roles I love playing are kind of like adventure. That's why I love Jurassic Park, like Indiana Jones, The Goonies, like all those movies kind of like have this adventure to it that I feel like is the movies that made me want to be an actress. So those are like the roles I really want to play, but I'll do anything, commercials, comedy, just throw them at me.
What do you get typecast as? Generally,
it's funny. I used to get typecasted like very like kind of like the sexy kind of like character. I don't know if it's because
if you have it, flaunt it. Work it, girl. I'm
which
sorry.
Is again the opposite of me. Like I don't like showing cleavage. Always in t-shirts and jeans, and I feel like I would get that or like the tough girl. When I first moved out here, they actually wrote me in an independent film that I auditioned for. They wrote a scene just because of my Brooklyn accent. It was like the tough waitress, like yelling at the people. And so it might be a little different now, but those are my typecasts a lot back in the day. Like either this tough girl or like the sexual vixen or whatever, which
didn't you do a whole web series?
I did.
Talk about that a little bit because I loved it. I caught some episodes of it and it's very good. So
knowledge, Bridget.
You to share more about that with the people out there.
Thanks. It was a while back. Me and my friend, we were in a car one day driving, and not just sitting there, but actually driving.
In a car? You were driving in a car. Okay.
And we had another girl in the car, and I think like we were talking about like guys and like all the things like women go through that guys maybe have no idea, and it's like hilarious. So we just like wrote them all down, and we did like 3 to 5 minute episodes called The Vagina Diaries. And it was The Vagina Diaries because it's based on all female experiences. So like things that girls might be embarrassed about or girls do. And we just like reenacted little scenes with different guys. It was really fun. We went through it. I feel like we did 3 seasons, but then it just started to like, the group just, the group starts to fall apart. People start doing their own things. And it was like rough to keep together. But the first season did really well on YouTube. So
every episode made me blush.
It's funny. One of my uncles, sort of like a distant family type thing, was like, I want to support you, but my wife doesn't believe me that it's your show, like The Vagina Diaries. So I had to like stop watching it. And I was like, what? So But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Did you have a similar thing that happened to you, Bridget, when you were watching the Vagina Diaries?
Yeah, my uncle came in and he was like, what are you watching? And I was like, my friend made this. And he was like, don't watch it anymore. And I was like, okay, but it's really good. Family.
Like, what are you watching?
Yeah. What is this? The Vagina Diaries? Is it like
well, I guess we could watch one or two episodes then.
Let's watch it together. I think the problem was because of the title, The Vagina Diaries, is that, you know, when you're watching something on YouTube and then it like kind of starts showing you like things that are similar, I think people like, watch list or like the sides was coming up like all like vagina stuff. So I think people see. So I'm sorry about that. But we still did pretty good in the first season, so that was good. And it was fun. It was fun to shoot. It was based on true things. And you'll see like a lot of females will be like, oh my God, that happened to me. And it's like most guys know what we go through as women to try to like be the girl that you want us to be, or like not be gross or anything like that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, rule number 1, don't be gross. Rule number 2, whatever.
Whatever. Driving your car.
Driving my car.
Well, that's good. Do you have any now, sorry, Bridget, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to let people know more about what you're doing now. Like, I know that was great stuff that has happened. Tell us about what you're working on now.
Well, yeah, well, right now, I just booked actually a short film. It was on through quarantine, so it was good. I have a new manager too, so I'm excited about that, who's like really on it. We talk a lot. My main goal for the past year has been getting in the new Jurassic World, but they started shooting already. But I met the director and everything, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. And they're going to make a TV series, so maybe we could get on that. Like,
wow.
So that's pretty cool. And I do a lot of skits. I have my Jurassic Park Instagram. I'm
What's
ready
it called?
to get things though. I'm ready to get back into like projects, and the whole quarantine kind of like paused everything. But
your Instagram is called Jurassic Gen, right?
Jurassic.Gen.
Nice.
Because somebody has Jurassic Gen who doesn't even talk about Jurassic Park. So I had to put a dot in the middle. Exactly. She needs to give me her name. But so I've been busy with that. I've been shooting some skits, like fake like Zoom skits and stuff like that, just to keep busy. But I'm excited. I think we're shooting in August, so I'm excited to be like in something coming out of this. So
that's great. Like, honestly, that's wonderful to hear, because someone that talented needs to keep going.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like when you book like something, then things start to trickle in. So I'm excited for the rest of the year if we start shooting again. I'm excited for like bigger things now. I'm ready for bigger things.
Good.
For sure. If I have to get casted as the sexy tough girl, I'm in.
Done.
As long as it's a big project.
The role that I just booked is a psycho girl. So I guess I'm rolling in that. It's so easy for me to play psycho girl. It's crazy.
Yeah. Why do you think that is, Jen?
Maybe it's like my inner psycho wanted to come out of me. But I swear. That's what a psycho would say.
That's what a psycho would say.
Like I would.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, that's really cool. It's good to keep busy when it's really tough to. And right now is pretty much the toughest time, the toughest extended amount of time that most things have come to a halt. You know, we're just really lucky that we now have like internet and Zoom and, you know, YouTube and all kinds of stuff to keep us busy theoretically, even if we can't do actual physical productions right now. And apparently we just reopened possible productions. So, you know, here's hoping you'll have that squared away by August for your short film. And it'll be a real stretch for you to play a psycho, but I think you can pull it off.
You could also catch me in The Assassin's Apprentice. That's
it.
About Paul.
Very true. The Assassin's Apprentice 1 and 2.
1 and 2. 2 different characters. Yes. But you could actually see my face in the first one. Like, I feel like I like open up the scene. Yes, I do.
Totally.
So,
Yes, you did.
Boy, oh boy.
and that I was in last year that are coming out this year. So that would be good. Like little roles, but still exciting.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Great work, Jen. That's really exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to include all your information in the description box below, all your social media, your address, your phone number, things like that.
My phone number.
Just the social media stuff and whatever projects you want. Let's finish off this podcast now with something Mike affectionately calls the terrible twos. Now, if Mike were here, he would say, I don't call it that. And then he and I would have a little bit of banter. So just imagine like we had a little banter.
I don't
No, you
call it that.
You're just
I'm all of Michael. How
Mike?
dare you?
Is that you, Mike?
How dare you? Yes, it is I. Yep. Ignore the girly speaking person before you.
Oh, it was just Bridget. That's the whole time. Wow.
I'm so scared.
Okay. So anyway, this is the terrible twos. Mike calls them the terrible twos. And he's not here to defend himself, although Bridget did a perfect job. So the final two questions of the day, and they're really the big ones. They're, terrible, as you know, for anybody that knows what dinosaur means, Jurassic Jen, it just means terrible lizard, right? It really does. And terrible as in big or great, so maybe terrible in this case isn't so bad. It's just great or big. Question number 1, scale of 1 to 10, Bridget Fitzgerald.
Yes.
What would you give the first episode of Firefly, Serenity?
Honestly, I would give it probably, I want to say a good 8, because it covers a lot of ground. It's an hour and a half, but I don't feel like to me, it wasn't a drag-worthy hour and a half. It was definitely establishing a world of many characters, which is hard to do, and an entire world or the tone, the genre, all of it was established. And I enjoyed it. I had fun. I enjoyed the quips. I liked, what was it? There was, oh gosh, what's his job? Public relations. Like the little things made me so happy. And even like the end thing where he shoots the bad guy, like in Indiana Jones, like where he just shoots him, like, and he's just gone all of a sudden. So I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll give it an 8. Although I thought that the Reavers that were like attacking them was a little weird, honestly. Like that was such a weird name to me, because in my head it was like ravers that were attacking them. So that kind of confused me. I was just like, oh no, they're coming
there
out.
We go.
Oh no, what will it be? So that part was a little weird, so that's why it's not a 10, but it's an 8, solid 8.
Sorry, I just wanted to keep looking at the picture of the raving kitties, especially the one in the corner.
Two of Ryan's favorite things, Raven and kitties.
I thought you were going to say kitties and more kitties. And their faces are so cute. The one's like,
they're so cute.
That's the face I make when I rave too. Brilliant. Jen, what would you give that picture on a scale of 1 to 10?
I was actually going between 7.5 and 8. You can't focus with that cute face. So cute.
Tickle. So it's 7 or 8, you were saying, Jen, for the
like 7.5 to 8, but I'll probably give it a 7.5 because I feel like I would need to see more to judge it. And I feel like sometimes, like, we're watching the first episode, sometimes you could catch everything in the first episode. And this one, it's like intriguing to me, so it gets like a higher number. But there's some things, like I said, I was like on and off in the beginning. So at the end, like if they did cut it into episodes, I feel like the second episode I would have been fully in. But the first episode, I was like up and down. So I would give it a 7.5.
Solid.
Me too. I'd give it a 7.5. I think the second half was better. Definitely the second 2/3 were better than the first third. It was very slow at the beginning to me. I couldn't even really pay attention. 7.5 because I feel like the characters were like 8.5 or 9. I thought that he's really good at writing characters, or they, if there are multiple writers. I felt like the creativity and the world building, I thought that was very interesting. I like that a lot. I give that an 8 as well. I feel like the story to me personally was like a 4. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but there wasn't much to a story. For 90 minutes, I felt like there wasn't a ton. There was a lot of character and relationship growth and world building, a lot of that. But as far as an actual story, there wasn't a ton. So I feel like to me, it averages out to about a 7.5. I feel like this is a show that you watch if you enjoy interesting new takes on sci-fi and if you enjoy good characters. But the tough question of the day, this is the real tough one. For the purpose of this podcast, you guys watched the first episode. Now that the podcast is over and you don't have to watch any episodes, would you, of your own volition, watch the second episode? Bridget?
Yes. I know this because I, too, am a time traveler from the future. I watched more of this. I rewatched it to do this. So I like Firefly a lot. So I say yes. That's a strong yes and an easy question. This isn't a hard question. Take it away, Jurassic Chan.
Well, I think unless you edited it out, like you wanted Michael to do, I said before, I'm definitely going to watch more of it. I should have did like a twist and said no.
Yeah, you're right.
I been like, no.
The course of this podcast has made you never watch it.
But I think I am. I actually might watch the next one after this because now I think it's like I'm curious. So I could get like 3 more episodes in and not want to anymore. But I think this first one made me curious. And I think it's like what you said, Ryan. I think I'm more curious about the characters than I am about the like what's happening. Mm-hmm. So I want to see what goes on with the characters and like who they are and all these, and find out if she's a lesbian.
Yeah. So you're kind of like Kaylee. You're curious.
I'm curious, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I definitely was not, I mean, I wasn't terribly looking forward to watching 90 minutes of this thing. And like I said, I didn't watch, after 5 minutes, I couldn't really watch anymore. And then when I went through the first 30 minutes, I was kind of bored. But I would watch the second. I was won over. Paul wins again. Paul Hickman's like saying, you better say yes or it's over between us. But yeah, I would watch the second, and I would watch the second specifically for the character relationships, not necessarily for the romantic relationships, although I felt like that was the strongest element in this episode, but just for, I mean, there's so many sweet moments. This is a show about heart. This is a show about like, you know, kind of like that standard trope of the light that you get from the people around you in a dark world. You know what I mean? Like they live in this dark world, and so they have to find the light, you know, within the people around them, within the friends and the companies that they choose to keep. And I really liked, for example, the moment at the end between Mal and Jane, where Jane didn't take, you know, the guy's offer to betray him. And Mal says, well, why not? Why didn't you betray me? He says, oh, the money wasn't as good as yours. And he says, well, what if one day it is as good as mine or better? And he says, well, you know, then it'll be an interesting day or something. He says, what happens when it is? And he says, well, that'll be an interesting day. And he says, imagine it will. And so we're led to believe that he's just basically saying, hey, if somebody pays me more, I'll turn around, I'll shoot you right in the face. But we all know in the back of our minds, we're like, there's a bro, man. They love each other. He's not gonna turn on his buddy. And I want to see the day where he shows the guy that he likes him, that he appreciates him, that he values him. And I'm sure that was meant to happen, whether it happened the first 13 episodes, I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff that makes us want to watch more, I think, and really stick to characters, right?
Yeah.
And you want him to come out with his jokes and be like, hey guys, let's do this.
I've given up on that. That's not gonna happen. Just gonna have to accept it that he's not the
The character.
yeah. Team Jane and Kaylee and Inara for me.
I'm curious. Oh, I'm curious about Firefly, the rest of it.
Oh, okay. So in closing, I will say that this podcast was like a 2.5-day drive cross country.
Driving in a car.
What about you, Bridget?
This podcast was sheer delight from start to finish.
This podcast was very fun, and I actually learned more through the podcast than watching the show.
Wow.
Boom. Boom.
Most people usually say that they're dumber after talking to me, but it must be the Bridget effect.
It made me,
You
yeah.
mean Michael. It's Michael.
No, I felt like talking to you guys made me like think of things I didn't think of, so I liked it. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You did the same for me. Talking with you made me realize I too drive in a car.
See?
That's-
Win. We all figured things out today.
Great.
Good job. Good job.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Miss Jen Durst. In the comments below, let us know if you would like us to review a show. Just say WTF He-Man or WTF Blackish, whatever you want us.
WTF Buffy.
Raving Kitties.
Raven Kid.
Yeah, just let us know. And in the description box below, we'll give you all the information for Bridget and Jennifer Durst so that you can follow them, check out their awesome projects. For Michael Rosenberg, thank you for watching our show. This is the Fallingtower Watch the First podcast, where we watch the first episode so you don't have to. And this is the first time that the podcast was actually shorter than the episode we watched.
Oh, that's true.
Crazy, man.
Thanks. See you next time.